welcome everybody. Today is Saturday, June the 16th, 2012. This is Tolec of the Andromeda Council, and I'm quite happy and I'm honored to have a friend and a guest of mine today, Mark Kimmel. And for those of you who are listening, you'll notice that you'll get a chance to speak to two people who are having ongoing contact and communication with people of Andromeda, and we'll get into some of those details later. Mark is up in the Colorado area, and I'm in southern Arizona, so it's a little warm down here. But it's a summer day, so we're gonna enjoy it and enjoy this conversation. Before I continue any further, I just want to do a little protection for both of us. This conversation that we're having is copyright protected, 2012 for Tolec and the Andromeda Council, and for Mark Kimmel of the Institute of Light and the Andromedans. So without further delay, Mark, good afternoon. Always good to catch up with you.
It's always a great privilege to be here with you, Tolec. You have a lot to offer, and it's always amazing what really comes up as the two of us have conversations. So tell us, what's happening today from your perspective? You know, what happens between now and the end of the year? Is there some magic about December 21st, 2012? What happens after that magic date? Give us your perspective. What is it you're hearing from your friends from Andromeda?
Okay. Wow. Yeah, one question, lots of topics. I'd also like to let people know that Mark and I spent a little bit of time framing out this conversation. We originally chose, I think it was like 11 or 12 topics that would have ended up in at least 3 or 4 hours of conversation, but we wanted to keep this conversation on point with what's relevant to today, what's going on during this period of time. So we've got 5 or 6 topics, and we'll touch on all of them. For clarification, just so that people understand my reference point as compared to Mark's, we are both in touch with people from Andromeda, including star systems in the Andromeda constellation. And as far as the Andromeda Council is concerned, also people from the Andromeda galaxy. In short, the people on the Andromeda Council are people, humanoid primarily, from the physical, organic third dimension, fourth dimension, fifth dimension, and sixth dimension. The people from Arcturus include people all the way through the ninth dimension as well. So those are my reference points for the people from globally, as we would consider Andromeda. Now, before I answer your question, why don't you let people know as well who the people from Andromeda are that you're talking to, so we can keep our references kind of consistent.
The ones I speak to from Andromeda are aboard the starship Athabantium, which is a starship that came into this star system about 70 years ago to help funnel energy to a struggling Earth. Earth was about ready to go and call it quits. She'd had enough of us humans, and she called out for help, and Athabantium showed up with a whole bunch of Andromedans on board. In addition to the Andromedans on board, there are a number of celestials that I also communicate with, as well as other beings, but I principally communicate with those from Andromeda and a couple of celestials. We'll get into that more a little later, I think.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, and there's a lot of depth of material regarding these topics, so I'd like to respect your question and everybody's time and get back to your question. What's going on today? Why do we have this period of change? There are a lot of other people who are quote-unquote researchers that have a lot of other depth of information compared to what I do, but I think the simple, most succinct answer is this time period that we're in, leading toward the end of 2012, is the end of a number of cycles, both not only on this planet, but for this whole solar system. It is a time of change. I think if anybody is paying attention to the number, as an example, if anybody's paying attention to the number of earthquakes that are happening on Earth at this moment in time, think back to the 1950s or 60s, or even 70s. I'm not sure the exact number, but I'm sure that the quakes that we heard about and learned of back then were far, far few frequent, just far less. And by the way, Mark, as I begin to touch on any of these topics, feel free to jump in and either corroborate or criticize either one. But I think this one's pretty consistent. Earthquakes are simply one example of the change going on this planet. We will continue to have earthquakes leading up to and through the time of December 2012. We will have land masses shifting. We will have some land going underwater. We will have volcanoes popping off. Based on everything that I've learned from my 5 primary contacts with the Andromeda Council, all of these Earth changes will continue to happen. Is there some significance? Let me try this again. Is there some cosmic significance, vibrational significance to the date of December 21st, 2012? Yes, it is. For anybody that's concerned about the planet ending and all life ending, I'm going to dispel that notion right now. Absolutely not. December 21st, 2012 is not the end of time. Now, I am going to provide some information which is relevant to that reference point. They've told me, my contacts have told me recently that the day of December 21st, 2012 is going to be a moment when, as this solar system and this planet is moving through the galactic equatorial plane, and there are all sorts of higher dimensional energies there, that will be a day when there will be a significant, larger wave of higher frequency energy, and it will pass through the Earth. And from what I've learned, that's the day that time, the way that we measure it, the way that we are familiar with how we measure and calculate time, that is the beginning of the end of time. I'm not a seer. I don't know exactly what's going to happen after that happens, but this is what they've told me will happen, is that this will be the beginning, the actual beginning of the end of time as we know it, December 21st, 2012. 2013 is supposed to be a period of continued Earth changes, earthquakes, volcanoes, land masses moving, including the completion of the crustal movement. Scientists would call this crustal displacement of the outer shell, the crust of planet Earth, rotating 90 degrees, otherwise known as a quarter turn, counterclockwise. So since Mark and I live in the U.S. and we have this North American continent, today we look at it has an east-west reference. When that crustal shift finishes, the North American continent, the South American continent, will have north-south references. What is today the west coast of the U.S., sometime in 2013, by the time the shift finishes, at least the crustal shift finishes, the west coast of the U.S. will become the south coast of the U.S. That's in terms of the changes. I've also learned that there'll be what people call a pole shift. Now, what this references specifically is a magnetic pole shift. The magnetic resonance frequency of the North Pole is going to migrate south to the bottom of the globe. And the magnetic resonance frequency of the South Pole will migrate to the top of the pole. So we're going to, to the top of the globe. So we're going to have magnetic pole shifts. And I've been assured pretty consistently from my friends in the Andromeda Council and all their people that this magnetic pole shift will not cause any major disruptions of human life on Earth. There may be some few electrical problems over the course of 2 or 3 hours, But they've also assured me that even if there are some problems, people down here are getting ready for it, and the people of the Andromeda Council are also happy and willing to step in and help with any electrical adjustments or corrections that need to be made.
May I add a couple of things?
Yeah, please, feel free.
Okay. My understanding is that when the magnetic pole shift takes place is going to be around that date of 12/21 this year. It's when we pass through that galactic plane, because scientists have recorded this pole shift over and over again. It happens every 26,000 years or something like that. And it's whenever we traverse the galactic plane. So that's my understanding of the magnetic pole shift. The other shifts you were talking about, my understanding is that the shifting of the tectonic plates and rising and falling of land masses, all that, is being moderated to some extent. Not that it's going to go away by any means, but it's going to happen over a longer period of time, and it will be less disruptive, simply because of the energies that are being applied here by your friends and mine, Tolec, as well as a lot of others who are trying to moderate things so that we don't totally upset everything here on Earth.
Yeah, Mark, I'm really glad that you're bringing this up. It's important, and it's important to. I think it's important that people understand that we on this Earth, the residents and citizens of this planet, have some comfort in knowing that we are getting some celestial help, some help from the cosmos, from, if you will, to a great degree, they are not only friends, but because this planet was seeded many, many, many years ago by a lot of what we would call extraterrestrial races, they are in fact our relations. They are, as the Native American people would say, Midakuye Oyasin, which translates, this comes from Lakota, translates to we all are relations, we are all related, and the more contemporary version is we are all one. And so being all one, the people of the Andromeda Council told me early on, when I was early in this process of learning, that there is, in fact, as Mark has said, some considerable help on the part of Andromeda Council biospheres, other biospheres from aligned Andromeda Council planets, the ones that Mark has talked about, that are all helping to slow and mitigate the pace of physical changes on this planet. And so the easier it is for everybody, the better off we all are, without a doubt. So I'm glad you raised that issue.
One more point I might bring up.
Please.
And that is, there will be a shift of the axis of the Earth. And that's in addition to the magnetic pole shift and the shift of the skin. In that right now we have a 23-degree pole from vertical. In other words, Earth rotates at an angle. That's what gives us the seasons. I was told a number of years ago, and received a lot of critique about it, that pole will now be shifted to vertical, which will eliminate the seasons and result in a much more moderate climate throughout the planet.
Wow. Well, I'm always amazed when, and we've talked a few times, and again, this conversation has been planned, but certainly not scripted. We picked out some really, I think, relevant, timely topics, but again, the conversation's planned. And so I just learned from you firsthand that you've heard the same thing that I've heard since they started sharing all this information with me in September of 2010. And one of those topics is that the 23.5 degree off-axis tilt of the Earth is going to go away. That's part of the evolution of this planet. It's going to get corrected. And what they've also told me, and I think everybody will be happy to hear this planet will, A, of course, the seasons will go away, but B, we're pretty much going to have a Mediterranean climate all around the planet year-round, which I don't know about anybody else, but that's a nice way to live. Temperate, comfortable.
It's wonderful. And
Yeah.
my understanding, furthermore, is that some of this pole shift, the axis shift, shall we call it,
Okay.
is actually already underway. We are seeing evidence of that coming from some of the indigenous peoples.
Ah, okay.
Not major as yet, but the beginnings. And again, it's going to be moderated so that it doesn't happen all at once and upset everything.
Right.
But it's happening. It's happening.
Wow. All right. I think we've done a pretty good job at flushing out this whole subject. Everything that I've learned about this period of change from my Andromeda Council contacts, they basically said, early January 2014, this planet will start vibrating as a higher dimensional world. Mark, can you tell me, what you've heard, either consistent or otherwise, with that concept?
I started hearing from the very onset that during this period of time, all of the human constructs, the human institutions as we know them, the government, the economy, the legal system, religions, all these things are going to be disappearing during this period of time.
Yes.
And that's to make room for what comes next.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. Yeah.
And what comes next is not well defined because we, the humans of this planet, have not yet defined. I mean, this is our world. It's up to us to define what we want it to look like. Our friends from other worlds are here to help us, but they're not going to go and come in with heavy boots and tell us exactly how to do it.
Right,
so,
right. All of this
is going to happen over these next, actually it's a matter of a few months. If you look at it, January of 2014 isn't that far away.
No. And just for reference point, to make sure that I understand what you're talking about right now, are you referencing all of the new the structures that we're going to form, the social structures, the organizational structures? I'm going to put this in parentheses or quotes. Governmental structures. We're going to be, as a people, across this whole planet, we're going to be experiencing changes to these structures, these societal structures. Are these the things that you're referencing?
I'm referencing all of those, and I personally think it will take way beyond January 2014 to reconstruct what I call the civilization of this planet. Because when you take away the structures, the government and the economy and things like that, what are you left with? You're left with some fairly basic things, and you're left, I think, with small communities of people dependent upon each other. Yes.
Interesting. I've heard the same thing as well. It's, in terms of that kind of outcome, and if we're looking forward into our future, they've told me that, and they've showed me visually, that we're going to be having a world which is much more smaller, community and town-based. And communities, I guess towns is about the biggest word I can think of right now. Communities and groups of people that will be collaborating, cooperating, sharing their resources among each other. You could say barter and trade, but they've also told me, consistent with this information, that we're looking at a period of about at least, now I'm going to put some brackets around this. We're looking at a transition based on how we calculate time today. We're looking at a transition of at least 10 to 12 years from the kind of economy we have today to one of small communities collaborating, cooperating, sharing of resources, essentially helping each other out. I personally have a hard time calling that economy, but that's a look at what the future is going to look like. Any thoughts about that, Mark?
I think you're correct. I don't think we talk in terms of economies because my understanding is that the people who remain here on this planet will not have money. as is the case in most of the other civilized planets in the galaxy. They don't have money and debt and all the things we're constrained with. So that's where we're headed. I personally think it's a wonderful path we're headed on. And if it takes a little while to get there, that's fine. Just stop and think about how long it takes to go and put anything into production, any kind of goods or services. It takes years. It's still going to take that time. And granted that time is changing, yes, but it is still going to take a certain period for everything to change as much as I foresee the changes.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you. Without a question. We were talking about the establishment of some new societal structures, community structures. I don't know what they're going to look like yet, and we as a people, and I mean this sincerely, this is our planet. We as a people are going to need to decide together, collectively, how we want that to look. What is it going to look like? And I know that I'm taking a little curve in the conversation here, or a turn. Mark, I know we talked about a topic which is close to you and which is important to you, called the role of caretakers. This might be a good time to talk about formal caretakers and why they're going to be important as part of this new Earth and our new society that we're going to be reestablishing.
I think that's great. I think this is a good segue into that. Not everybody is going to remain on this planet. It's just not going to happen. Yeah. There are a lot of people who are simply digging their heels in, despite the fact of all the changes, the fact that the planet is moving to a higher vibration. And they are saying, look, I don't want to change. I like it the way it is. I may have a miserable life, but at least I know what I got. And I'm not going anywhere else. I'm not moving. Well, as the planet changes, as the planet moves to her own higher frequency, life will become very untenable for those people, and they will leave.
Right.
And then there's the class of people who are working very hard, the light workers, if you will, and they're focused on ascending. They want to get the hell out of here because they don't like it here. It's very uncomfortable. And so they're working to raise their vibrations, and they're working on ascending to some higher vibration, and they're going to go off and travel the universe or do whatever they're going to do in that next life of theirs.
Right.
And some of them will ascend physically to a higher vibration, and some will ascend in some other way. So then that leaves us with a third grouping, and these are what I've been told over and over again. They like the word caretakers, because they are the ones who are going to inhabit these smaller communities we're talking about. They're going to leave a very shallow footprint on the planet. They're going to go and change life remarkably in such a way that everything is cooperative. They will be fully telepathic. They will have other advanced forms of powers and that type of thing. And all of this is going to happen because they are bringing the higher vibrations into their physical bodies here. They're not leaving the planet. They're simply saying, I'll stay here as a caretaker. I was told several years ago, Mark, how would you like to stick around here for another 100 years or so? I said, well, not in this pit.
That's right. Yeah, not with the way things are going, yeah.
Not this place. They said, oh, no. But we're talking about a much better place. And I said, sure, I'll stick around. Give me a younger body, and I'm yours. And right. So I guess I've signed up to be a caretaker, and there will be lots of us. Yes. Maybe not billions of us, but it could well be that there could be a few million of us scattered across the planet. And it's my understanding that that is the way life exists in a number of the planets of Andromeda. That they basically are caretakers.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a wonderful place. It's a wonderful existence.
Yeah. And from a vibrational perspective, and I know we talked about this a little bit so that you and I could have an understanding of some of the concepts that we're both sharing. What I've come to learn is that higher dimensional life vibrates in a higher frequency. And from what we would ubiquitously call or universally call the fourth dimension on up, life in this form is of fine matter essence. It has less density, higher frequency, less weight, and also far greater light. So for the purpose of understanding, so that people can grasp the concept that Mark just talked about and addressed, Mark's talking about, and I'm going to use my references right now, higher dimensional people, people of maybe mid to higher fifth, maybe even sixth dimensional people that will be bringing their energies and their help and their caretaking and, if you will, mentoring down to this planet. Even as this planet evolves and becomes a higher dimensional frequency world, there will still be frequencies because, and Mark, I know that we talked about this a little bit as well, we're going to be going from a heavy, dense, organic matter, physical form planet to a lighter, higher density physical matter. Now, it may be physical, but it's going to be a different kind of physical. It's going to be finer essence matter, which is completely different than what we have today. And if I'm saying this right, Mark, what you're saying is that people of even higher frequency than what the planet will be, once it changes, those folks are going to be assisting us to bringing higher frequencies, a greater sense of peace, a greater sense of cooperation. Is that kind of what you're saying? I mean, my words may be different, but is that the kind of thing?
I think we're tracking quite well.
Okay.
The caretakers are the Earth humans that are going to remain here, and then they will get a tremendous amount of help from those that are aboard all of the ships and biospheres that are surrounding this planet. And my information is there's at least today 1,100 of these just waiting to go and offer assistance, which means there are millions of people up there in orbit, if you want to think about them that way, that are ready to come down here and help as soon as we begin to take the first steps as being willing to become caretakers of this planet instead of dominators.
Yeah.
We think, somebody decided somewhere along the way that we should go dominate the planet. And that was a big mistake. And a lot has come from that. So, yes. And then we also know that there are different frequencies and that, there are higher frequencies, mid frequencies, and lower frequencies. But once you get out of this muck that we're in, all of these different frequencies can coexist very nicely.
Yes.
They can get along.
Yes. And as you've indicated, there are nuances to those frequencies. There are certainly, there's far less separation. I think that's what I'm trying to say. There's less separation and there's more cohesiveness. As an example, say from fourth to fifth, fifth to sixth, sixth to seventh, seventh to eighth, because those are all higher level, fine matter essence, if you will, spirit form frequencies. They're not organic matter like we are here down on Earth. They are of spirit form. At least that's one way that it's been explained to me. And they just vibrate faster. But what you were telling me is that there's more of a nuance and a blending from one tier or realm to the other, as compared to separation. Is that?
It's like on a spectrum.
Ah.
Okay, and so there's no real separation. It's just that, I'm lighter, and so I'm in a little higher vibration. I think I'll go and drop down into something a little bit more dense. And those beings that have achieved a certain level of consciousness, shall we say, are able to pick their vibration.
Yeah. That also brings up a really good point, which, and I know I've said this before, but since we're touching on major topics, this is worth bringing up. One of the key reasons why all of the people that are, if you will, collective citizens of the Andromeda Council are excited about this time of transformation in this solar system as well as on this planet is that, and Mark, I want to hear your feedback on this one as well. They've told me that this is a singular moment in human history where not only this planet, but a number of other planets are going to uplift, shift upward, transcend, ascend, whatever words people want to use. And people don't have to die. It'll be the first time in human history that millions and millions and millions of people from a number of worlds, that they will simply shift vibrational frequency as the planet also moves upward in frequency. And it's a monumental event to see planets and races of people upward lift into a higher level of frequency without having to die. It's amazing. Mark, any contributions from your people on that topic?
What they're saying maybe takes it one step further.
Okay.
In that they are saying this may well be the most important event since the original creation. It is so significant that we are going and finding a way to deal with this third dimension and make it into something that is absolutely beautiful. So we're transforming third dimension. So it no longer has to be a place of fear. And it impacts, you are right, not only this planet, but it impacts thousands of other planets as well.
Yes.
So that's why there's such a focus on what we're doing here. And quite frankly, I feel an obligation of, hey, we got to get this right.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
We know that eventually it's all going to turn out right. But since we know that's the objective, well, why don't we just get on with it and do it right the first time? Isn't that somebody's slogan, do it right the first time?
Yeah. And you know, I can't speak for you, and I don't speak for you, but at least for me, what you're touching on right now is, you know, I've never quite said this out loud, so it's worth saying. One of the prime reasons that I'm motivated to share what I know with people is that, and I'm going to use a well-worn axiom, listen, we can do it either the easy way or the hard way. Now, the easy way is, for those people who are interested, they listen, they ask questions, they pay attention, they're curious. They may want to know, what can I do as an individual to make this process of transformation of our planet just a little bit easier? What can I do to help? That's the easy way to help this transition progress forward. The not easy way is for people to fight what's going on, in whatever form you want to define fight. I think, these are only my personal opinions, but I think that anytime each of us in our lives decide to fight our own evolution, our own personal evolution, or we decide to fight our own internal changes that are happening, you know what happens. So imagine trying to fight change on a planetary scale. That's the hard way. Now, that's only my opinion, but Mark, any thoughts?
Well, so somebody on one of the radio interviews I did the other day said, well, Mark, are you a spirit warrior? And I said, oh.
What?
Well, you know, it's the idea of being a warrior. Because a warrior means, gee, I'm out there fighting something. And
no.
my understanding of it is the way this is going to happen is we're not going to go have a war on drugs and get rid of the drug problem. That doesn't work. And we're not going to go have a war on ascending or that type of thing. No, this is a whole new dynamic. So I think where I'm headed with this is we are now headed into a whole new way of behaving. And that's what this change is all about. It's a new way of behaving and looking and seeing and believing and trusting, and it's so encompassing, and that's why everybody upstairs is so excited about what we're doing. Now, Tolec, we have gone and skipped over a big section, and I want to go and be sure we cover this whole conversation about extraterrestrials and celestials and who's who.
The guys upstairs. Sure.
We've been saying the guys upstairs. So, all right, tell us who they are.
Okay. I will first touch on, and just briefly, I'm going to touch on all of the senior members of the Andromeda Council, and this won't take long. I'm going to do them member by member and star system and planet one at a time. People have heard of them. By the way, before continuing further, anybody that's interested, they can go to the Andromeda Council website, which is Andromeda Council, COUNCIL.com, and it's page 2 about the Andromeda Council, and they can read the same list that I'm going to give people right now. So, on a star system basis, planet by planet, the members of the Andromeda Council senior member board include the star system Arcturus, planet Ptola, star system Antares, planet Nicote, star system M103, planet Lagola, star system Procyon, planet Cana, star system Vega, planet Percula, star system Capella, their planet Persea, star system Polaris, their planet Ventra, Sirius A, planet Tolec, star system Deneb, planet Retol, star system Tau Ceti, planet Zeta, star system Alhena, planet Degaroth, and the 12th senior member is the star system Betelgeuse, and their planet is Etorth. And of these 12 senior members, some are what we would call on Earth 3D, organic form planets. Some are 4th, 5th, 6th dimensional, as well as 9th dimensional people. And the 6th through 9th dimensional people are the people of Arcturus, who I'm going to spend some time talking about right now. These are some pretty amazing people. They are predominantly known as the gatekeepers and, if you will, the peacemakers. That's their big contribution to the people of the Andromeda Council, as well as the day-to-day, if you will, day-to-day management company of the Andromeda Council, which is the Galactic Federation, based in the Tau Ceti star system. And I'll touch on that later. But back to the people of Arcturus. Amazing people, peacekeepers. And the reason that they're peacekeepers is that at the level that they exist at, from the 6th dimension through the 9th dimension, depending on which world that we're talking about, it's still, the only way I can say that is, I think it'll help people to recognize the fact that the higher that you go in dimension, the higher that you are to what people call God, Source, Creator, Creation, the Source. So these people vibrate at a very, very high frequency. They're very warm, they're very kind, they're very loving, and other words that I could use include, they do their best to bring down, if you will, to download this vibration of peace and peacekeeping from the vibrational frequencies of Arcturus down to many other dimensions, down to the 5th, down to the 4th. And these people from Arcturus also, because this frequency is so high, this is the first time we're talking about this, their frequencies from the 8th and 9th dimensions, they will be a critical part to healing the planet Earth as it continues its transformative change to becoming a higher dimensional world. So they play a key role, and this is also the same reason why they are the very first senior member of the Andromeda Council. So now, I mentioned the Galactic Federation as the day-to-day management company. Because I come from the business world, that's a term that's easy for me to use. The best way to describe it is the people of the Galactic Federation are the ones that help keep things organized on a day-to-day basis. They help to implement all the protocols of collaboration, cooperation, trade, sharing of technologies, sharing of resources, sharing of universal education systems that each of the worlds have developed. The people of the Galactic Federation, based in the Tau Ceti star system, these are the guys that do this on a day-to-day basis. How are they different from the Andromeda Council? Well, think of the Andromeda Council board as much more of an intergalactic and interstellar UN. It's higher level, and it's higher level from the perspective of it considers and votes on protocols and to help the planets of all of the Federation and the Andromeda Council interact with each other. It is definitely about interaction and cooperation. So, who are the top 5 planets of the Galactic Federation? Here we go. They are the planet Merak, the star system Merak, planet Tiriel, an upper 4th dimensional world, star system Procyon, planet Cana. They are at the cusp between the upper 4th and the 5th. They sit right on that cusp. Star system Arcturus, the planet Ptola. In this case, out of the different dimensional planets, Ptola is a mid-6th dimensional planet. Star system Sirius, planet Tolec. They are mid-4th dimension. Star system Tegeta, planet Dakote. They are mid to upper 4th dimension planets. So those are the 5 key planets of the Galactic Federation. There are about 255 others, which I won't get into now. Also, because we are currently a physical form, if as many people would say, 3D world, there are 3 other, as we would call them, 3D physical form planets that are currently part of the Andromeda Council and the Galactic Federation, and these particular 3 are all in the star system Alpha Centauri, very close to us. So these 3 are from Alpha Centauri A, planet Lena, from Alpha Centauri B, planet Xpateli, and from Alpha Centauri C, Ulima. In addition, there are also over 100 worlds in the Andromeda Council and Galactic Federation database that are strictly physical form 3D planets. And I'll just list the 3 of them. Star system Calf, planet Arpon. Star system Beta, planet Aurica. Star system Sirius A, planet Lyridia. And interestingly enough, these people on this planet Lyridia are originally from Lyra. So, as you can see, there's some considerable substance to this day-to-day management company of the Galactic Federation and current 3D worlds, as well as a number of other star systems and planets. It's a large organization, and it spans both the Milky Way galaxy and Andromeda galaxy. In addition, to wrap up this topic, at least from my knowledge base, there are 12 Andromeda Council biospheres, which are in and around Earth space, throughout our solar system. There are the people from the primary Andromeda Council biosphere that I communicate with quite a bit, and I go there to visit for meetings, etc. The size of that biosphere is about the size of Pluto. There are 11 other biospheres which are the size of Mars, Venus. 2 of them are the size of Jupiter, and they'll be used as transport ships for the people that are currently organic human form 3D that want to continue their lives on a similar organic form 3D world. Those 2 biospheres are Nemaste and Pleiadra, and they are scheduled to leave Earth for the people that want to continue to live a 3D physical form life. They're scheduled to leave Earth space late summer of 2013. So those are the 12 Andromeda Council biospheres. There are also 4 from Jupiter that are scientific, if you will, space stations. One stationed at the top of our globe, one at the bottom of the globe, if you will, one far left and one far right. And they are all monitoring all of the changes that are happening in this part of space to our sun and to our planet. So all of these people, if you will, our family, grandparents, brothers, sisters, friends, they are all here watching and helping with this whole process. And from an Andromedan perspective, as many people have heard, I'm sure, from me, there will be 3 people, Ambassador Tanka, Diplomat Maka, Vice Chairwoman Tanya, who in the very near future will be coming down Earth, traveling the globe, as well as people from the 4 Andromeda Council aligned planets that will come speak directly and openly in small groups with people of the Earth to help prepare people for these additional changes and to help them understand where we come from originally and what our lives are going to be like in the future. I know that's a mouthful, but that's everything that I've learned about who are the extraterrestrials, interdimensionals, and celestials that I've been communicating with. And Mark, I'll turn the microphone and the floor to you so that you can share with people who are the people that you've been communicating with.
Well, first of all, Tolec, the picture you're painting is a very beautiful picture. You step back away from it, and it's like, this is a credible picture. I mean, we have all these starships, we have all these beings who are here on behalf of a beautiful, beneficial transformation of this little planet of ours.
It's an enormous amount of help.
It is. It's huge. The other thing is, I was listening to you. If you step back away from it once again, I talk a lot about celestials, and if you stop and think about the Arcturians, and you say that some of them are 6th dimension, 7th, 8th, 9th,
yes,
and on up. Well, those fall within my definition of celestials. And so I was sitting here thinking, well, maybe what we really have here, because, my pea brain can't get around all of this. And so I keep trying to think, okay, what is this really all about? I hear this, I hear that, and, oh, that sounds good, and this sounds good. No, I don't like that. But really, if we paint with a broad brush for just a moment, maybe what we really have here is a spectrum.
Yes.
That goes from the physical on the one end to the pure spirits on the other end, and everything else in between.
That's right.
And
they are different frequencies of life within a spectrum.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they have different colors, and they have different names, and they have, they make different sounds, and they have different physical or semi-physical or quasi-physical appearances. But really, it's all part of a beautifully orchestrated universal existence. I mean, it's fabulous. I love it. It gives me a great sense of who I am part of. I'm part of this, and you know what? I'm important enough that they're coming to my planet to help out. And I think that should be something that everybody goes and understands, is we are important enough on this planet. We are so worthwhile that we're getting help from all these other planets, all these other star systems, a whole other galaxy. And, my concept of the celestials is that it may be coming from even further away, from other galaxies, from other dimensions, from other universes. It is such a magnificent orchestration of this thing. How could we possibly go wrong? I'm excited.
It is an amazing perspective that you're talking about, because you're right. When you step back away from this far enough and we look at it and go, what's really going on here? There are all sorts of people from a magnitude of worlds and dimensions and vibrations that all care enough about us and our future that they're stepping up to the plate to help. I mean, talk about, and this, we didn't plan to get into this subject, but talk about the ultimate giving of love, the ultimate sacrifice of love, if you will, for them to sacrifice their personal time, whatever they're doing in their day-to-day lives, to set aside, and I know they don't deal with time, but to set aside a block of their valuable time to say, listen, we have an opportunity to help the people of Earth in their transformation process. We have an opportunity to help mitigate some of the difficulties of that transformation. Is it the right thing to do? Sure is. Wouldn't we want somebody else to do this for us? And I think it's one of the most personal expressions of love that anybody could share with somebody else, to put aside their whole agenda, their time, whatever they're working on, and to help another if you will, certainly multi-racial planet, which has a multitude of mores and values and ethics and theologies. And quite honestly, my guys in the Andromeda Council have said, this is one of the reasons why it takes such an enormous amount of work effort with us, because we on this planet have so much diversity here. I don't know what you've heard, Mark, but I've heard from my guys that there's probably more diversity on this one little blue planet that's almost a microcosm of the whole universe.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm getting. We have the most diversity in terms of plant life, in terms of animal life, in terms of human life, than anywhere else in the universe.
Yes.
And that's why it's so worthwhile saving this wonderful experiment called Earth.
Yeah.
So if I can segue into something here for a moment.
Please.
We have a conference coming up, and I want to talk about it for just a minute. You can find out all about it at cosmicparadigm.com. But we are taking the point of view that we have information, and we have training, and we have experiences and that type of thing that we want to share. And they're coming from all the way from the Creator, they're coming from the Celestials, and they're coming from the off-planet, I'll call them our brothers and sisters. And so all of this is going to be represented at one time. So we're going to have the whole spectrum at what we call Transformation 2012. And the whole reason for Transformation 2012 is to go and train people to raise their vibrations so that they can more easily go and walk through this time of change. Because if you haven't figured it out yet, things are changing.
Yeah.
And they are changing.
Yeah. Mark, can you, and you know what, I'm stopping you here because this topic, this subject of this conference, I believe is important for people, at least for people who are making a commitment, and those that desire and want conscious training. Can you please point out the difference from a typical UFO or ET conference? And there's a wide variety of them that happens on this planet over the course of any given year. Conferences as compared to this 3-day intensive, because this is different.
Well, number one, we're not going to sit around and talk about all the darkness, who did what to who. We're not going to talk about the bad guys. We're not going to talk about what's the latest sighting that happened over South Florida or northern Washington State.
Okay.
We're not going to go and talk about, how you go and heal yourself from the changes. No, we're going to talk about energies. We're going to talk about how you can use energies to accomplish virtually anything. And then we're going to go and train people. We're going to say, okay, this is what you do, and you can take that home. So it's an intensive workshop. It's like a 3-day workshop. And so that's going to be quite different. And the other thing it's not going to be is there's not going to be a lot of foo-foo. And my definition of foo-foo is people that stand up and make you feel good while you're there, and then you go away and it's like, oh, well, I felt good a week ago. Now, where is all that? So no foo-foo.
So this is much more of a 3-day intensive workshop. You're going somewhere to get some specific training.
And by some of our star brothers and sisters.
Okay. Wow. All right. And when is this going to happen?
August 16, 17, 18. You can find out all about it at cosmicparadigm.com.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Yeah. And thanks for I thought, believe me, I really thought it was important that you provide points of differentiation so that people could understand this is not going to be a typical UFO conference.
No.
This is about training, education, things that people can retain and will be valuable from this point in their lives forward whenever they come back from that intensive. So,
I doubt that we'll mention UFOs the whole time.
Got it. Good. Alrighty. This is probably a really good time to segue and touch on a topic that I think you and I care about a lot, which is who are we really? Who, as humans, are we really on this planet? And I'll start by sharing a small tidbit, and it's a topic that people probably don't think of from this perspective. We are at minimum the life force, the complete life force, the complete spark of the vibration of whatever you call God, Creator, creation, the great mystery, the source. Each of us is a part of that creational life force called Creator or God. We are great souls of great light, of great spirit essence, who's tucked inside of a human physical body for the sake of life experiences, for the sake of growth, for the sake of learning on this 3D world. I think that's a good place to start. Mark, comments, thoughts?
Let me say, maybe just using different words.
Sure.
Much the same thing. I think everyone will admit there is a creator. This whole existence of ours just didn't happen by chance.
Yeah.
So I'm coming from the perspective there is a creator.
Right.
Way back in eternity, whenever that is. I can't get my head around it. But way back, they were created some creator gods so that creator could experience himself, herself, itself. Mm. So these creator gods were told, go out and create universes, go out and create galaxies, go out and create worlds.
Yeah, intelligent design. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
All right? Go out and do this because I, creator, want to experience myself. And so the creator gods went out and did that. And then along the way, they created these great souls. And these great souls are as old as the creator gods. These are great souls. They have been around for millions of years, possibly billions of years.
Wow.
They are, the visual I get on them is that one of these great souls, and some people call them the oversoul or the cumulative soul, whatever it is, but they are the ones that are keeping track of the experiences, the individual experiences. So these great souls, and the visual I get is that the great soul that I'm part of is many, many times larger than the earth. Many times larger.
Wow.
If you can go and put a visual on it, okay? You can't. Okay. But if you were to put a visual on it, it'd be many, many times larger than the earth. So the individual, the great souls do what they call individuating souls for the purpose of a lifetime. So I received an individuated soul, which is one small piece of that gigantic soul. And that gigantic soul probably is individuating a whole bunch of other souls to have experiences on Earth, in Andromeda, all over the universe, all at the same time.
Yeah, almost like the concept of like a super or mega soul group.
Yes. Yes.
Collectively, it is a large oversoul, and it can, if I hear you right, it can, if you will, break itself down into individual soul pieces for individual experiences.
Yes, it's like it contributes one piece. As an example, I went and incarnated. I've had a number of lives on other planets other than Earth. My individuated soul. I had one of those when I was in Andromeda for several lifetimes.
Yes.
On other planets, and so these great souls are powerful enough and large enough that they can go and say, oh, I think it'd be fun to go out there and play on that planet. Huh, how about that one? That looks interesting. I'll go do that one today. Oh, and here's another individual. I'll contribute one over here. So once you find out that you're part of this great scheme of things and that you have life eternal and you've been around for 1 billion years or so, it makes your life much different because you realize you really can't die.
Right.
All you can do is go and have experiences. And so I tell people, go and figure out who you really are.
Thank you.
Once you have figured that out, then we can go and talk about raising your vibration because, you already have a higher vibration going. All you got to do is get in touch with it. Because this great soul is vibrating at, the 12th dimension or something like that. So it's a matter of, I think I'll get in touch with that. It makes the job so much easier.
Yeah. I've spoken at length, especially recently, about, matter of fact, I did it 2 days ago with the guys of Wolf Spirit Radio. We spent a lot of time talking about each person getting in touch with the core of who you truly are. What gifts do you bring to you? What gifts do you bring to the world that are uniquely yours, that only you do really, really well? What can you share with others? But before you start sharing with others, truly, I think it's important for each of us to get to know who we each uniquely are as we express this individuation that you talk about.
Yes.
Yeah, each of us have to get to know the depth of ourselves, to know what we're really truly all about before we can know how to help others on a broader scale. And I just think it's an appropriate thing to consider and work on. At least it's been in my life, and I think it's proved valuable in the insight that I've gotten. But I'd recommend this topic of get to know yourself as probably one of the most important things in life. At least that's my humble opinion.
And then become who you really are.
Yes.
Start living that way.
Live it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you, Tolec, you're living it. You are doing that on a daily basis. You are who you really are. So my compliments to you.
Oh, thank you. And you know what? This is a good time to say this, for me to speak this thought. Yes, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing at this moment in my life, and I am, to the best of my abilities, bringing forth all of the unique gifts that make me me. Now, okay, that having been said, am I happy doing this work? Yes, I am. I'm happy who I am, and I'm happy doing this work and contributing what I contribute. Does that mean my life has gotten easy? Nope. This is, Mark, you can attest over the years to your own life because you've been doing this a long time. This is a challenging path to choose and to live, and it's not easy. Now, also, that having been said, just because there are challenges, do I shy away from it? No. Because every time they step up to the plate to embrace another challenge, to work through it, whatever it is, there are always amazing gifts on the other side. And I'm not able to list them all, but at least for me, every day is a blessing. It's not an easy life, but it's a blessing because I'm living my own truth of who I've discovered myself to be. And for a guy in his early 50s, that's taken a lifetime for me to get here. And to quote a great spiritual master, Gary Zukav, I am living what would be called an authentic life. Is it real for me? Yes. Is it true for me? Yes. Is it challenging for me? Absolutely.
And you wouldn't change it for another life?
No.
I
would not. Thanks for bringing that up. No, I wouldn't change it.
You wouldn't change it?
I wouldn't change it, no.
Nor would I.
No.
Nor would I.
No.
One last thing before we wrap this up.
Yes.
I would like to mention the Institute of Light, which is a joint venture between, it's the idea, it's not my idea. This is an idea the Andromedans came up with.
Okay.
They call it Abicor. And basically it's a center of light which they want to have on this planet as a teaching institute where they will come and interact with the people of Earth who are interested in creating this new civilization.
Wow.
It's a fantastic concept. It's a place, I envision it as a place where regularly the ships land. Okay? And then the students get to go on travel the universe as a way of finding out, well, what's it like on another planet? Let's go take a look over there. So it's a very interactive place once again. So that's Abicor. It's not yet here. It will manifest only after we have achieved a certain amount of transformation.
Right.
And who knows, a year or two, I'm thinking. But
Okay.
we have the beginnings, and that's what this conference we're doing in August is all about.
Okay. And the conference again is Transformation 2012. The middle of August, is it 16th, 17th, 18th?
16th, 17th, 18th.
Okay. And
We're about half full already, which is amazing.
And for those people that don't know, it's going to be held in Pagosa Springs, Colorado, a beautiful, beautiful place up in the mountains. Cool, crisp, clean air. For anybody that's interested in helping to raise their vibration during this time of transformation, I recommend it. I just as somebody who's familiar with Mark and his focus, and I'll say this personally. I've never said this about Mark. Mark, you are a warm, kind, and gentle person, and it's been a pleasure getting to know you and meeting you in this lifetime. And I appreciate it. It's just been a pleasure, and I would recommend highly that anybody who wants to get to know Mark and the people that will be at this conference, that it'll be well worthwhile. And that's my own two cents on Mark and the conference.
Thank you, Tolec. Thank you. Appreciate that. I think one of the most interesting things about the conference is the people who are going to be attending. Oh my God, you should see the lineup of people that are coming to this place. They are amazing. So it's not just the speakers. It's everybody else that's going to be here too. It's going to be wonderful. Now let me turn this around to you, Tolec. I think you are a very courageous man doing what you're doing. I know you've had criticism. I know you've had difficulties. It has not been an easy life. But you are a speaker of the truth. And there are not many who are so direct and at the same time so personable, so genuine. And so it's been my privilege to have gotten to know you. And I thank you very much for doing this dialogue. Monologue. No, it's a dialogue. A dialogue is for two, right?
Yes.
This dialogue today. It's been great.
A conversation between new friends. Yep. Yep, absolutely. Alrighty. Well, I think we've done a pretty good job of fleshing out the topics that we felt were most important that people should hear about. So I will let you go on to your Saturday, and I will simply say for this time, to you, my good friend, have a good weekend and enjoy yourself, and I'm sure we'll be talking again soon.
Thank you again so much. It's once again a great privilege to work with you.
All right.
Bye for now.